The universe, God, source, whatever label you want to put on it, is always communicating with you. And one of my favorite sayings is that it's not that the universe, will say for now, isn't communicating with you, it's whether or not we are listening. And so I want to go over some of the communications you may be receiving that are really trying to get you back on track, kind of get you back on the heart path, the soul path, kind of the pathway towards higher consciousness, which I really feel we're always being led towards. And I want to give you some of what I've noticed are things that happen for me specifically, and I've noticed in others, when it's time to readjust, maybe make a new choice. Maybe you've gone a few degrees off the direction leading you towards that higher conscious place or your higher self, and you just need to readjust. Maybe you've gone way off course and it's time to make a shift. But either way, I want to give you what these signs are so you can see how they apply in your own life. And again, with any of these, make sure you're using your own discernment. You're tuning into your own intuitive faculties to see if these ring true for you. Don't just take it on face value. I've just seen these to be things that occur in my life and lives of others. It may or may not be for you, but if it does resonate and it does ring true from that inner knowing, then I would invite you to take it on board and to make the necessary adjustments. So let's jump into what the first one is. We're going in reverse order with number 3. Number 3 is very simple, and we'll keep it very simple, and it's simply negative synchronicities. Now, I just want to mention that this doesn't mean challenges. This doesn't mean something that is a catalyst for growth. This means literal, like, low conscious manifestations coming through. Things like, and you can usually tell when this is something that's being provided as feedback when you are in lower conscious emotions all the time, and then these things start to manifest, right? If you focus on things like stress or shame and guilt and fear, the inevitable thing is you're going to manifest whatever the equivalent of that is physically after a certain amount of time. And a lot of people are kind of in this perpetual cycle that's continuing to happen. And so maybe you're on the teeter-totter between, kind of doing this work and the old story. And a great way to start understanding if the old story is what's winning out is what's coming into your life, not only from a synchronistic perspective, but what manifestations are coming in. Are they things you would deem negative when you're in a calm state? Again, it's easy to get hooked into these things and certain things that are meant to be challenges and call them negative synchronicities. And so from a more grounded perspective, when you're calm and you look at it, can you honestly say, is this a negative synchronicity or a challenge? And if it's a negative synchronicity, it might be time to change course. Maybe you haven't been tuning into your practices. Maybe you've been honoring the outer world more than the inner world, and life is trying to give you feedback of that to go within, to root yourself in your knowingness, your practices, and your heart. And so just look out for those negative synchronicities. It's only feedback. It's not meant to beat you up or screw you over. It's only meant to help you readjust, to get back on track on your heart path. And it's a great way of doing that. In fact, it's a part of the system that makes it an incredible feedback loop, so we know when we're kind of veering off path and moving back towards that mainstream path, or that path of the head, or that path that you don't really resonate with. It's a great feedback mechanism to kind of help you readjust back on the heart path. One thing I love to do in meditation, or just when I'm not really too sure of this, is say, I'm here, I'm listening, and kind of repeat that mantra. And so if you want, you can put that in the comments and then really just connect to that. Say it within yourself. I'm here, I'm listening, and see what comes through. You can even ask questions like, is this feedback that I need to make new choices if my goal is to be on my heart path, or to be following my intuition, or to be in that higher place? And you can ask these questions and then just be here and be listening. Allow that space to be there and see what comes through for you. But again, you can put that in the comments to reaffirm that, and we'll move on to number 2. Now, number 2 is the emotional side of it, and you just have a general heaviness. And I think an even better way of saying this is that general heaviness, and you're attaching yourself to it. And when you take a step back, you realize that's what you're doing. And you're stressed, you're struggling. Stress is really only a byproduct of being attached to these more negative emotions, right? You can have chaos happening in your outside world, or even within you, and detach yourself from it. In the same way that you watch the clouds go by and you don't attach yourself to the clouds or judge the clouds, you just kind of watch them go by. They are there, but you're not a part of them. You're not making yourself a part of them. What causes us stress is these emotions come up and we attach ourselves to them. We get angry and then we're like, yes, I am angry. I am anger. This makes me angry. Instead of just allowing that energy of anger to be there from an observation level, from detachment, and just going like, oh, there is anger. I am experiencing anger within my body. I'm not anger, but anger is occurring right now in my body. Instead of attaching ourselves and thinking that we are the thing, or whatever, imagery is coming up with it. And so if you're feeling this general heaviness all the time. You know, you're kind of going through that slump of real negativity and you're kind of saying to yourself things like, this sucks, my life sucks, whatever else it is. That is absolutely feedback that you need to readjust. Feedback that maybe some shadow work is in order. Feedback to observe and to sit back and do your practices to allow the universe in, to create that space that can clear these things fairly easily and very naturally if you just allow them in. That continued heaviness comes from resistance. Again, there will be things that are bigger within you that you've been holding on for a while that will take longer to dissipate naturally. And again, that's where that detachment comes from. So you might be like, oh, I feel this like anchor, this boulder in me, this heaviness, but it's not leaving. I must be attaching myself. It may not be the case. You know, you have to discern between whether you are or not. It might just be that this is a lot of energy behind this because you've been doing it or reinforcing it for so long, and you just need a little bit longer of just observing it, not attaching yourself to it, allowing it the space it needs, shining the light on it for it to naturally dissipate, right? But if you're feeling that general heaviness, getting drawn back into that stuff, I think being reactionary is a big way of looking at this too. Do you kind of fly off the handle easily and react and you're not able to recenter yourself quickly? This can be another big amount of feedback that you're kind of veering off path. Because what I found is when you're on path, when you're living more from that higher self, you're living more from what you are, the reactions start to become less and less and less, or the refresh time between them, as in like the time you get back to center and balance, is very quick. You know, for myself, usually I'll still have frustration and things come up, but it's very quick to kind of get back into balance and be like, okay, and just allow it to leave, not attach myself to it. So you don't have to be perfect with this and like, oh, I got attached to something for a second, so, oh no. It's like, no, actually, if you're able to detach yourself pretty quickly, then you know you're heading in the right direction. But are you getting hooked into those things, attached to those things very easily, staying attached to those things, feeling that heaviness? Again, that's messaging to really make some new choices, because it's your choices that have gotten you to that point. Again, in my eyes, the invitation would be to really focus more on the inner work. You're probably getting attached to so many things that are going on in the outside world, like the anger might be coming up because something that you are trying to control didn't go the way you wanted outside of you, right? And then your reaction is to be angry. So just to look at that, is that heaviness there? If it is, I would really recommend, again, going inwardly, doing the practices that I know you are aware of, and taking it from there. So if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that like button. That just helps to get out to more people, and more who can use this, more who are curious about these things. So it really does help, even though it's such a simple thing. I really do appreciate that. Now let's move to number one, which I think is a very interesting one, but it definitely needs to be included. And it might not be that you're having negative synchronicities. It might not be that you even feel that badly. It might be you're more in a neutral state, but you have a massive intuitive pull to something in a different direction, right? So we're not going to use something like negativity or lower consciousness at this point. You're probably beyond that. You're at the consciousness level of more neutrality or even willingness. And then this strong intuitive pull is leading you in a different direction. It might be that you're at a corporate job and you've been able to let go of control, attaching yourself to maybe the emotions that you used to attach yourself to when you were in this job. And now you've created the space for new inspiration and things to come in, and there's a massive intuitive pull to go do something else, to really dive into that passion, to really go do this other thing. That is another huge indicator, you know, that excitement from your heart, that kind of positive anticipation, that kind of almost like, what if I did that question? You get so excited about it. That is another huge indicator. And now from probably an even higher level of consciousness, that it's time to change course and move on to something else. Now, how you actually go about that can differ from person to person. I'm kind of like, for me, I was always like an all or nothing kind of person. I've kind of grown up a little away from that now, but I always had to be the person who quit the job and then went all in on the other thing, or who would just like leave the country, right? And that worked for me and just my personality type. But for you, it might be, okay, I know that I'm being pulled in this direction. I'm going to finish what I did here while also building that. And then at this, you know, you might work more on a plan. In 2 months from now, I'm going to leave the job, and then boom, I'm in there. You might be like me, who are like, I need to leave it now, and I trust the universe and myself to allow things to unfold, and I know I am protected and things are going to be figured out, right? Again, my invitation would be to explore what that is for you, and not to, you know, again, do anything based on what I'm saying or recommending at face value, but to tune in intuitively to see what it is for you. But if you have that intuitive pull, you keep coming back to it, you find yourself even like kind of thinking about it all the time, or daydreaming about it all the time because you're so connected to it, that is a very strong pull in that direction, especially, again, if your heart is bought into that. It might be your mind that's justifying why you shouldn't do it, because your mind is really tasked at keeping you in the known. Your heart wants you to dive into the unknown that's going to help you grow and be that next phase for you. Ideally, you want these two to be in coherence. The mind is amazing as a tool, but not as the navigator, not as the captain. And so, again, if you're feeling this pull, it is that messaging from the universe. It is that feedback that that's where you're meant to go. This is what's going to get you closer to, your so-called mission or purpose or what you're meant to be doing. What really aligns to you, what really allows your heart to sing and light your soul up. Where you're kind of tap dancing to work every single day. Whether that's work at some kind of dream job or your own business or whatever else it is. You're just excited about your life because it's so in alignment. So that's another key kind of feedback in my eyes, one I followed consistently, and it's one I've used to also know when something has come to its natural end, its natural cycle, and something else has begun. And it's a great one to tune into. So if you want to learn more about kind of interpreting these signs, really kind of transforming your life, to understand how lasting transformation actually occurs, which very few people are aware of. I have a masterclass called The 5 Keys to Lasting Transformation, where I give you the 5 foundations, the 5 keys that need to be in place for lasting transformation to occur. Think of it like the caterpillar to the butterfly. The caterpillar, every single one, has the potential to become a butterfly, and so do we in this metaphor. But very few people move from that to the butterfly, and the butterfly represents higher consciousness, lasting transformation. And once you become that, there's no going back to the caterpillar. You can't rip your wings off and be like, I'm going back here, nor would you want to. And so if you want to know how to go through that metamorphosis, what really is required, the truth of what's required for that to occur, then you can get that for free down below, first link in the description. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to this video. And I would just invite you to, remember, this feedback isn't here to hurt you or to screw you over. It's here to actually guide you and help you. And when you come from that perspective, you can actually be honest about what's happening, adjust and change your actions and choices based on that, and you're going to start living way more from your heart in a way that's fulfilling and things that are from a place of alignment. So anyway, remember that you are loved, and I'll see you in the next video.